This is Henry. He can't read. Since Henry was in first grade, he was called stupid by his peers, by his teachers, and by himself. But it wasn't his fault. You see, Henry had dyslexia, and while most people who looked at text see this, he sees this. At the time, Henry didn't know he had dyslexia. He assumed everyone saw a confusing jumble of letters when they tried to read, and the problem was never addressed. By third grade, this became an even bigger issue because instead of just learning to read, students were actually reading to learn. Because of this, Henry began to do poorly in other subjects. Math, science, history. Henry was in bad shape. This was because of something called the Matthew effect, named after the biblical verse, "Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them." In other words, the fundamental skill of reading opens the doors to many other subjects. But having dyslexia unfortunately keeps those same doors shut. When Henry found out about his condition in the middle of third grade, he had to leave his friends and go to AIM Academy, a school for children with learning disabilities. But Henry and 4 million other kids like him don't deserve a lifetime of frustration. A simple, inexpensive change to the way reading is taught in American elementary schools can end this dilemma. Traditionally, students are taught to read by the standard phonetic method. This method of reading helps children to learn the relationship between spoken and written words as well as syllables. Phonics then encourages children to sound out new words. While this may seem beneficial, only 80% of children can effectively learn to read phonetically, while the other 20%, kids like Henry, see letters jumbled up all over the page. Fortunately, a solution is out there. In 1985, educator Barbara Wilson, a dyslexic herself, discovered a way to teach children with learning disabilities to read. This revolutionary new method, called the Wilson method, teaches reading in a way that works for both dyslexic and non-dyslexic kids. The Wilson method has been proven time and time again to be able to teach children with even the most severe learning disabilities to be able to read at a proficient level. Every lesson is a 10-step process that involves kinesthetic, auditory, and visual methods to help kids develop relationships and find patterns between words and sounds. For example, color-coded flashcards and interactive magnet tiles are part of a hands-on, multi-sensory curriculum that helps kids overcome their learning disabilities. At the end of each lesson, kids are asked to apply these skills to a reading passage, just as they would be required outside of the classroom or without special education. In addition, the Wilson method does not only benefit dyslexic kids, it is actually more effective than the phonics method at teaching normal students to read, with some classroom studies suggesting that it leads to a higher level of comprehension and a more in-depth familiarity with the reading. However, at the moment, the Wilson method is primarily used in expensive and exclusive schools for children with reading disabilities, like AIM Academy. Some progressive school districts now use the Wilson method for all students. However, some is not enough. Every child should have the right to read, regardless of whether or not their 23 chromosome pairs make it difficult. So, all public elementary schools in the U.S. should stop teaching children to read phonetically and start teaching them using Barbara Wilson's revolutionary and easy-to-implement reading education method. This is Henry. Thanks to Wilson, he can read.